Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome in. This is the horoscope for the full moon in Libra that we're having on Saturday around 8:23 Eastern Standard Time. So take that time differential into consideration when you're trying to figure out when this is happening for you. Always look at where is this happening in your birth chart, in your natal chart. Where do you have 23 degrees of Libra and 23 degrees of Aries? Because this is where this full moon is going to be impactful for you personally. Now that that's out of the way, what I'm going to explain, because I know that some people, and I'm still a very small channel for this new one, but I already have people saying, well, how is this going to matter, blah, 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 blah. All right. When we're doing these sort of collective horoscopes, it's more tied to mundane astrology. And as an evolutionary astrologer, I'm going to more lean towards how you're going to evolve as a soul. All right. This is more about how do you get to the next level of your ascension? What is astrology going to tell us about that? And what is astrology giving us as far as advice and guidance goes? You are the leader of your life. You control your life. All right. Astrology is not going to answer everything. But astrology is about cycles, rhythm, and patterns. And if we ignore that and we plead that ignorance, as the first, then we can get our asses kicked by the universe. So that's why I think it's very important to pay attention to astrology. If you want more of a deeper understanding as to how this full moon is going to affect you, that's why I ask you to look at it. Where is it in your chart, right? That's where you know that this full moon is going to illuminate, and this full moon is going to present the facts, because that's what full moons do. They shine the light, right? It's not a new moon. It's not a good time to set intentions and start some stuff, even though Libra is a cardinal sign and has that energy of the go-doer, right, of beginning and starting something new. It is a full moon, so it's more about what do I need to see that I have not seen before, where I need to close out some chapters, where I need to end some stuff, where I need to let go of some things, where I need to say goodbye. Right, over. So Libra, especially 23 degrees, I actually brought up the Sabian symbol here, which I loved. The Sabian symbol of 23 degrees of Libra is a rooster. It's funny to me because the rooster is very, I think it's closer to the Aries energy, and there is this connection between axis signs, right? With Aries and Libra, that axis has a connection between each other. So the rooster being, 23 degrees of Libra, heralding the coming light, as far as Rudyard goes, and this is from his perspective here, he says, heralding the coming light, those of us first to feel the dawning of a new consciousness have the privilege and duty to shout about it, speaking out what we know to be true. Think about it, a rooster just caws, right? And they even say it, I'll continue to read first before I say anything. Each moment is entirely new and unique and carries the promise of surprise, originality, and wonder. The cock crows at dawn and not only claims to be first to announce what is now coming, but also feels his crowing actually causes the sun to rise. Surely our response to each new moment can be spiced a little with cockiness, which I love. Again, it's almost like Libra is honoring Aries and Aries is honoring Libra with this Sabian symbol representing this full moon. And I think even the aspects of this full moon kind of highlight that as well. We do have a lot going on, and it is a very busy full moon. And remember, we're piggybacking the energy from the eclipse that we just had in Aries, which was on the 29th of March. That's the last cycle that we had to go through as far as the lunar cycles go. So now we have this full moon in Libra that's kind of the first out of the gate after that very powerful eclipse. And I think I'm not the only one to say that it was a very profound eclipse when it comes to consciousness and perspective, and allowing us to kind of go for what we really want to go for. So anyway, let's talk about it. I think the most significant for me, and even though it's not as significant, nobody really likes to mention Chiron a lot, or at least not in the, the major horoscope energy and the major aspects and things like that. We don't really bring up Chiron as a major thing, but for me it is a major thing, because Chiron has the story of sacrifice and the story of the willingness to teach others and to lead others and to be of service to others, which is very Libra. And again, that axis of Aries and Libra, Aries being the self, Libra being others, me versus you, and then me versus us together. That's very Libran. So Chiron being conjunct the sun exact, well, not exact, about 20 minutes off, but it's pretty much exact as the sun is in opposition to the moon, and we get this full moon, and then the moon is conjunct very far. Okay, it is a very wide conjunction, but it's still a conjunction, about 8 degrees conjunction with Lilith, and Lilith is now in Scorpio. All right, so you've got the moon in conjunction with the shadow of the moon. At the same time, you've got the sun in conjunction with Chiron. What does that mean on a deeper astrology level? Well, I have a sense that intuitively what I'm feeling might come up out of this full moon is the need to heal the wounded, not just within ourselves, but within others, to put ourselves in other people's shoes, to walk a mile in other people's shoes, to see how have you experienced and expressed pain, and how have I experienced and expressed pain, and how can we come together to solve world hunger almost. Like, it's very that deep for me. That's what I'm seeing, this, especially with all of these aspects going on. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of connections, between the planets, all of these aspects happening at once. Sometimes I feel like when a chart is overwhelmed with aspects, and when a chart has so much going on like this, I feel like it almost drowns it all out, and it's almost like nothing is happening, which kind of leads into the moon, being conjunct Lilith, of accessing that void, which we already accessed with that lunar eclipse. Mercury is now direct. So at the same time, and that's what I want to mention next, now Venus is about to station direct with this full moon. So the only thing that we really got to worry about is Juno being retrograde. For the moment, this is our pause, right? This is our pause before all the external Trans-Saturnian planets start to go retrograde pretty soon here. So, so for now we kind of have this breathing moment, and this full moon allows us that breathing moment, especially with Libra being that diplomat and being that justice-seeking archetype. We're going to look for that justice. We're going to seek that justice, and we're going to implement that justice in our lives with this full moon. What is right and what is wrong? What is immoral and moral? And my own consciousness and perspective on that has kind of shifted, especially because I've been taking my time reading that Light of Egypt book. It is an occult book. It's for students of the occult. There's a lot of information in there tied to Hermeticism. I'm not saying that I'm an occultist or I'm a Hermetic studier or student, I should say. But there's a lot of interesting points that's brought up in that book that I've always intuitively and naturally felt. So my idea, I guess my point is here, and I swear there's a point, is that the difference between what is moral and immoral, and I've always preached this, is all about subjective perspective, right? Because obviously it is, right? Because my idea of what's right and wrong might be different from your idea of what's right and wrong, and will be different from what the collective thinks is right and wrong, especially with, we have to take into account, demographics, and we have to take into account cultural influences, because what might be right and wrong in America is going to be different than what's right and wrong in China, So there's a lot of differences. And this Libra full moon, on a mundane level, a collective level, but also, again, look at your personal chart, and for you personally, you're going to look at that. You're going to look at that, and you're going to want to balance the scales of justice. And at a minimum, that's what Libra means, right? That's what Libra represents. That's what Libra strives to do, is to balance those scales of justice. And that could be, that could feel bad. That could feel wrong because, or not wrong, but that could feel shitty, to say the least, because if your scales are way out of balance because there's too much positive, what's what the universe is going to do, and Libra is kind of the tool for the universe to do that through. That's how the universe does it, is through Libra. It says, there's too much positive. We got to put in some negative. Balance the scale, because that's duality. That's the dualistic way of living in this existence, at least in this dimension. So why? Let me go back, okay? Because I got a lot to say about this, obviously. Libra being ruled by Venus, right? And Venus, she's about to go direct. She's done with this Pisces shit. She's over it. She's ready to move back forward into Aries. So she's kind of, if you can see, she's kind of chasing back towards the sun again. Of course, she never gets more than 40 degrees from that. It's more Mercury that gets closest to the sun and has that Kazemi a lot. So my point is, she's starting to chase that. And she's very far away from Mars. And we have to think about that as well, because this is Libra, and Libra represents the feminine and the masculine as well, and sort of the androgynous, I don't want to use the word of hierarchy, but it is within the mythos and the logos and the planets and the gods. So you've got this feminine and masculine constantly chasing and running from between Venus and Mars. I know I'm not making sense. I got a lot of stuff coming out at once, but I promise there's a point here. She's stopped because she's about to go direct. So this Libra moon being ruled by Venus, making a trine over to Mars as she's chasing him, and he's running, because this is the current dynamic right now, is Mars is leaving, Venus is chasing. And it's slowing down, right? Because Mars just came off of his retrograde. So he's picking up speed now. She's going to start picking up speed. And she's currently in conjunction with Saturn during this full moon in Libra. So there's a lot of seriousness. There's a lot of what I would think, because of this background energy of healing the wounded and then healing ourselves, what I would think would be issues of security, or issues of stability, or issues of not working hard enough. And this could be working hard enough as far as relationship with the self or relationship with others. So we're starting to look at the serious commitments, right? We're starting to look at the serious commitment that we have with ourselves and with others. Right? She's now in trine with Mars, and she's conjunct Saturn. Let's get serious. Let's get committed. She's also trining Juno, who's retrograde. It's an out of sign trine there, because she is in Sagittarius technically, but it's still a trine, and also with Mars. So you've got this grand trine between Juno, Venus, and Mars. All about that commitment, all about that loyalty. And again, because the moon is conjunct Lilith in Scorpio, I mean, that's as dark as you can get. That's the kind of dark that's blacker than black. That's the kind of dark that gives you the goose pimples, the goosebumps. That's the kind of dark that a lot of people don't want to face. This is a good full moon of shadow. And this is a good full moon of the karmic moons. Now, when I say karmic, because I think my perspective has also changed on that as well. I think this last Mercury retrograde kind of changed me. And I knew a lot of this was going to do it, because it affected my sun and my moon and my chart personally, heavily transited those two. So I knew I was going to have some kind of shift, and it affected my own Mercury, which is in progress form retrograde right now. So, my idea of karma has completely, I wouldn't say completely changed. I still definitely believe in karma, but I think it's more about collective karma. And I have preached about collective karma more than personal karma. But even like past lives and things like that, I know that it's only been a couple weeks, but I feel like even that idea has changed. But anyway, this isn't about me. There's the Aries in me trying to make it about me. I'm just saying that because what I'm about to say might be different than what you feel or what you perceive. So, and it's okay, because again, there's a lot going on with this chart, and we can move on and talk with that. The fact that you have this karmic clearing, this karmic oversight on this full moon, with Chiron, again, it looks like a key because it is the key. When you look at Chiron in your chart, that's where you're most wounded, right? That is where you hold the most trauma. That's where your PTSD gets triggered, okay? That's where the salt burns. So it's right on top of the sun of Aries. So we are feeling salty about ourselves, okay? That's really what this full moon is saying. We're feeling salty about ourselves, and we're just trying to move on. We're trying to close chapters. We're trying to stitch up the cuts, you know, put some ointment on the burns and put a Band-Aid on the wounds, and say what we need to say and to get it out there. Because a lot of the shadow stuff that's going to come up with this full moon in Libra has to also do with this square that we've got going on right Mars. And there's a quincunx also with this moon, as I can see now, with Saturn and Jupiter. All right? So it almost turned into a kite formation, which I think also can... Yeah, it almost did. It could have been a kite formation if Juno wasn't retrograde. So again, that commitment is fleeting. That commitment is fleeting. We're going to have a tough time, especially Mars in Cancer. Mars is so ready to get into Leo. Mars is done with Cancer. Mars is in its fall position in Cancer. Does not highlight the best parts of Mars. So if you've noticed, a lot of people right now want to fight. All right, a lot of people right now are choosing conflict over peace, and Libra teaches us that. Libra teaches us how to choose peace over conflict, how to resolve things, not inflate things. So I feel like this full moon is kind of like the start of healing, the start of coming together, the start of working together as a collective, the start of moving on from what has been a painful few months for the collective as far as conflict and hatred and aggression and just the more shadow side of Mars, and look towards more the positive side of Mars as he moves out of Cancer and into Leo, where he's going to be a little bit more lighthearted, he's going to be a little bit more playful, he's going to be a little bit more open to receiving, right? Because when Mars goes through a retrograde in Cancer, it tends to also show the shadow side of Cancer, which is very reclusive, very shut downy. You know, it does not want to open up. It's the hard shell of the crab, not the inside softness of the crab. It's a hard shell crab, not a soft shell crab, right? That's Mars retrograde in Cancer. So moving on to that retrograde, this full moon kind of allows us to care more in a positive way, not care more just about me, I. It's more like, you know, we're going to see more selflessness, not selfishness. Okay, so yeah, what else do I want to talk about? And that, oh yeah, I didn't really talk about that actually, because I was stuck on the fact that I almost look like a kite. The quincunx over to Jupiter and Saturn with this moon. And it is a splattered aspect too, and that's why there's so much going on with aspects. You can see there's no real formation to the chart. It's scattered and splattered aspects, except for this whole stellium going on here. So, but that's because I use the nodes and I use Juno and I use Lilith. If they weren't there, then it would probably still be a bucket, but they're there, so I use them. So for me, it's more splattered, which I think my point in that, I swear there's a point, I think leads into the fact that this feels like a very chaotic and all over the place moon, and the only one that's really taking charge or taking leadership or taking control is the moon itself, which I think is very powerful, especially because it's a full moon. So while it's making a quincunx over to Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus have a sextile. Okay? Sometimes crazy is good. Sometimes chaotic is good. Sometimes we need a little chaos to refocus, to bring us to what's more important, to bring us to come together, right? It kind of, who was it that said that? Hold on a minute. It was Ronald Reagan. I was trying to find like the script of it, but in 1987 when he gave that famous speech about the alien threat and how we would come together if there was an alien threat. I kind of lost my train of thought of that, but that's very Libran in a way to suggest that, right? Yes, that was my point, because of this quincunx over to Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn being Kronos, Jupiter being Zeus. So, and then that sextile with Saturn and Uranus, Kronos and Uranus, the father. So, the true father, because Kronos. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Point is, Libra would give such a, is Ronald Reagan, hold on. No, he's not a Libra, but he's got his moon and north node in Taurus, which would make sense. Taurus would do the same thing, but very casually, more casually and behind the scenes than Libra would. So, this idea of coming together, this idea of healing the wounds, this idea of letting forgiveness and kindness and compassion and selflessness, right, lead over ego, over greed, over corruption, over aggression, and over conflict is being highlighted in this moon. So you need to look at your personal life, right? Where can you come together with people? Where the best thing to do is like-minded individuals, but I know that doesn't happen as often as it used to, and I want to say that it's kind of the influence of the internet, but and the influence of everything being wireless, the influence of us working towards transhumanism, right, and leaning more into machines and computers and AI and technology. I think that kind of has, in a way, connected us more, but also disconnected us more. So we need to start connecting. Where can you find connection? Okay, where can you find understanding and support? Support to support others. Helping them help you, and you helping them by them helping you. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I know there's too much to talk about as far as aspects goes. There's too much, but I think those are the biggest ones that I wanted to mention. Well, I guess I think the last thing is this whole Pisces stellium going on here with Mercury, the North Node, Saturn, and Venus. And I know I already mentioned the conjunction with Saturn and Venus and the commitment there and the loyalty there and the taking a more serious turn to faith. I think faith in where we're headed, faith in the road ahead, faith in our own ability to use our mind in a positive way and use our voice in a positive way. Again, remember, the Sabian symbol, I can speak, is the crow, right? Surely our response to each new moment can be spiced with a little cockiness. It's okay to say, hey, the sun is coming up. I know the sun is coming up. I've caused the sun to come up. It's very alchemical in a way, almost, with that rooster Sabian symbol. Taking back that control to balance those scales, okay? I'm going to leave it there so that I don't keep rambling on. I hope this helped. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.